Right, today we are going to recap plotting quadratics and finding roots, and then plotting cubic graphs, and it's just an extension to identify significant points. So, can you fill in these missing values on these two tables? It is non-calc, see if you can substitute this correctly. And B, there is a grid. Can you find, using the graph, the approximate solutions for x? And when they ask for approximate solutions for x, they mean to find the roots, if you can remember what the roots are. Okay, so the missing numbers are 5 and -1, and you would just plot this, and I guess you would have to do this on your books. And this is quadratic because the highest power is 2 in it. Now remember, it's U-shape. So the approximate solutions are the roots for x, so that's where y equals 0. So you can see that's 2.5 and approximately 0.5 and 0.4, and I would accept that, and that is correct if you've got that right. Well done. So just a quick recap of these points. Take a note of it. A and B are the roots, C is the y-intercept, and D is the point which we call the minimum point on this graph. As you can see, it's the lowest value on this graph. And moving on. And it says B there because this is a former grade B topic, but this is grade 5. So, can we still do this? Now, remember, I split this up because you do each term by term, then add it up. And if you could do this, it's very good. Give it a go. Pause the video. And if you get the values for y correct, well done. You're very good at this. And if you've got those y terms correct, this is an important skill because when you get the coordinates correct, that's worth marks. The table correct. And plotting is very easy. So you just plot those points. You can see I plotted when x is -3 and 7 here. That's the x. Then -2 and y equals 0. So plot that. That's -2, 0. And then you just plot the rest and draw a smooth U. Perfect. And there you go. Those are the roots. And the minimum point is 1 minus 9, just in case you get asked it. Right, so let's go into cubic graphs now. So that's grade 5 and it's the old grade B topic. So, a cubic function is when the function contains a term with a cubed power next to the x. And when the highest power is a cube. So even though that's a squared here, -3x squared, it looks like a quadratic, but because it's got the -x cubed, that actually becomes a cubic. Same with this. This is a cubic graph because the highest power is cubed, and so is this one. And here's an example. Can you see it's drawn with a smooth curve? And this is an example of y equals x cubed -3x squared -18x plus 40. So this sentence here, it can include x squared or x, and the constant is the number at the end. -1 is the constant. So you understand those terms. Okay, these are the skills you need. Start with a table. And you don't need to try all of these, but y equals x cubed is an important one. The rest is the extension, and I'm going to give you some examples. So just 1 and 2 is fine. And you can do the extension if you want to give that a go. So here you go. That's the x cubed table from -3 to -2, -1, and that will be what y will be equal when you cube it. So -3, why this works is when x equals -3 cubed is, you've got to remember, it's -3 times -3 times -3. Well, from here to here, that would equal 9 times -3 equals negative times positive is -27. So when you do these tables, always start with the positive values because those are easiest. But for a general rule of a cubic, or when you cube a negative, when you cube a negative number, the answer is going to be negative. Right, see if you can do this one from x is minus 3 to 3, like the table to the side. And I'm going to show you the answer now. So pause the video, I'm going to show you the answer now. If you can do this, plotting is easy. Now I've split that answer because sometimes it's easier, because this is normally on a non-calc, but it can be on a calculator paper. So it's very easy to do this correctly on a calculator. So make sure you can do it with both skills. And then I've just split the two terms up. So can you see that's x cubed minus 4x, that's what we're substituting in. If you work out what x cubed is, when x equals minus 3, it's minus 27. Now you know, if you substitute in minus 3 times minus 4, that's a negative times a negative, because you let x equals minus 3 here, and that's going to equal plus 12. Then you work out the y separately. And this is all the figures worked out. And then finally, can you do this one? Pause the video, give it a go, and if you can do this, then you can definitely draw more complex quadratics. Now at your stage, you just need to draw simple cubics, and this is just developing your skill further and actually improving your substitution skills. And here we go. If you got that correct for the x and y, that's really impressive. Well done. And I'll also check if you can do that with a calculator correctly as well. Okay, moving on. So, can you plot that x cubed graph? That's a basic skill. So, if this was on a non-calc, you could do this for all these values, but I'm going to give you the values. And you can see, you just plot those. So the tables are harder, so you just plot it and draw a smooth curve between those points. And it's quite easily done. Now just see if you can do these on the calculator and see if you can just do the whole numbers without. That will be fine. And you don't need to split it up, but I'm just going to show you. Pause the video and work out y. And that is nice. So you will just plot those values and draw it in. So these are all functions that are cubic graphs because it's got x cubed in it. That's got an x cubed. That's y equals x cubed. And that's a negative cubic. So it goes, the S, sort of like an S shape, goes the other way. So if you want a challenge, see if you can complete this from the values minus 3 to 3. Pause the video and give it a go. This is just an extension. Perfect, if you got that correct. And just going to plot that. And then obviously you draw in the curve. So I'll see if I can do that. So if you draw it with a straight line, you will lose a mark. And that is fine. But do it a bit smoother. Some just extra knowledge here. So I'll say this is grade 6. Qubits can have a local maximum and a local minimum point. And you should remember this from quadratics. And they can have up to 3 roots of 3 solutions. That's where it crosses the x-axis, or when the y equals 0. So these are some notes for you. So that is a local maximum and that is a local minimum, because you know that keeps on going up forever and that keeps on going down forever, so you can't include those because that will be infinitely high and infinitely low. So that's a maximum point. but it's accurately called a local maximum, and that's a local minimum. And you can see the 3 roots on this one right there, just in case you get asked. You might want to make a note of that. So, can you now do the x cubed values on this? Perfect, if you've got that right, well done. And that's just drawing a graph. Can you complete this table? This is an old exam question. They would say this is an old grade A question, but it's only grade 5 to 6 right now. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I would always start with the positive value of x here. So you're substituting. So the first term is x cubed, so that means you've got to do 2 cubed plus 2 minus 2, and that's why in the tables before I just split it each term together. So that 2 cubed is 8, then plus the 2 minus 2, so y equals 8 for 2. Now let's try it with 0. So x equals 0, so y equals, what's 0 cubed? 0 cubed is 0, plus 0 minus 2. So this is when I drew the table for the other examples, because you just do each term at a time, then add them all up at the end. So that's just going to be minus 2. And people only struggle with the negative numbers, so you've got minus 1 cubed plus minus 1 minus 2. Now let's remember, a plus and a minus next to each other becomes a minus. So y will equal, remember when I said a negative number cubed is still negative, so that's just going to be minus 1 minus 1 minus 2. So y equals minus 4. And that is done, and that would be perfect if you can do that. That is it, and you just need to plot, and then you just plot the points, and you can see the table's key. Plotting is easy, and just in case you get asked those, and then you obviously would draw the smooth line through those points. Make sure it goes through the point. And that is done. So let's see what you can remember about those, and write a note on them, because that will help you remember these skills. Right, well done.